After 33 years as the CEO of Vanguard, their CEO has just stepped down. They've quit. Okay, so does this have anything to do with Bitcoin? Does this have anything to do with the fact that Vanguard's competitor, BlackRock, has just bought $10 billion worth of Bitcoin in one of the most successful ETF launches in history? Well, that is what we're going to be exploring today, as well as anything that you guys would like me to cover. So I want to start with this article here. Before we get into the Bitcoin tie and link and have a look if there is any sort of link there to begin with, let's actually start with the news of the week. So Tim Buckley has retired after 33 years of being the CEO of the $8.7 trillion investment firm Vanguard. Okay, now again, to put things into a little bit more context, 33 years ago, he felt very differently. He was lucky to be involved in a company that believed in giving investors a fair shake as they save for retirement. Again, very interesting because Bitcoin kind of does something very similar for investors and savers all around the world. But let's move on and actually have a look at the size of Vanguard. Okay, so I found a few comparisons looking at the differential in size between Vanguard and BlackRock. Now, it is known that BlackRock's the world's largest asset manager, but this one here, it's actually showing that Vanguard is the largest. I'm not sure what's the discrepancy there, but we can see Vanguard has $6.6 trillion in assets under management. Just imagine there's a big BlackRock bubble next to them at $10 trillion, not the $2.9 trillion this company has listed. But I wanted to show you this website because it shows you how much bigger Vanguard and BlackRock are as opposed to the other competitors in this niche. Okay, these are the world's largest asset managers, and we got Vanguard, we got BlackRock, and then you have Fidelity, $2 to $3 trillion of assets under management. And then we see a pretty big drop off. So we got American Funds with 2 trillion, State Street 1.1 trillion, and then all of the other asset managers are actually under $1 trillion. Okay, so there's only, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 asset managers with more than $1 trillion. Vanguard has $6 trillion, BlackRock around 10. And this is why I think that it's important to kind of frame the conversation this way, because Vanguard and BlackRock are in a fierce competition with each other. Okay, it is very clear that Larry Fink and what's his name, Tim Buckley, the CEO of Vanguard, they have opposing views about lots of different things. Okay, BlackRock went really heavy on ESG. Vanguard, not so much, not as heavily as Larry Fink. Okay, we didn't see interviews of Tim Buckley on national news talking about the need for investors to buy ESG assets. We just didn't see that same level of enthusiasm. And we're seeing the same thing with Bitcoin, a different asset class. We've got Larry Fink on one hand going on national news, calling Bitcoin an international asset and how it's a flight to quality. Okay, again, incredible. And then we got Tim Buckley saying, yeah, well, you know what? We're not going to actually allow our investors to get any exposure to Bitcoin. Absolutely incredible. And I think the next headline we're going to look at helps to explain that difference. We've got Johnny Midas in the chat. He's a regular here on the channel. Happy Friday to you too, Johnny. Now let's move on over to the next headline I've got for you guys. And we're going to look at this before we get to how MicroStrategy also relates to Vanguard's quote unquote row. That's what they're calling it here. Row. I'm not sure how you pronounce that one, but we can see Vanguard CEO steps down after Bitcoin heated exchange. That's what we're going to call it for today's video. Because let's kind of remind ourselves what happened after Vanguard decided not to list the Bitcoin ETF products. Initially, when he made this announcement, the Bitcoin price was kind of crashing a little bit. Okay, Bitcoin had a 20% correction after the launch of the Bitcoin ETFs. It kind of corrected from 49K to, did it get into the 30s? Maybe the low $40,000. And, people like Vanguard were looking pretty, right. They were happy with themselves. But this article here says, this follows, this is obviously the resignation of Tim Buckley. This follows Vanguard's choice to avoid a Bitcoin ETF, which is obviously, that decision was aimed at protecting investors from crypto volatility. Following this decision from Vanguard, Bitcoin's price soared 50% igniting discussions on Vanguard's missed opportunities and its CEO's resignation. Okay, very, very interesting. James Van Straten has a pretty good tweet here. He says the new normal is BlackRock is buying $600 million worth of Bitcoin a day. No wonder the CEO of Vanguard resigned. Okay, let's actually look at these Bitcoin ETF flows in a little bit more detail, because this is going to really paint a picture of showing just how successful BlackRock has been. Okay, we can see here that BlackRock right now is nearly holding more Bitcoin than Michael Saylor. I got to see Michael Saylor in the flesh today, actually in Madeira. He's given a talk, and he really brings the energy for the in-person conferences, which is really cool, and it's pleasant to see. He's a little bit more, how would you say, cool, calm, and collected on his interviews, so to say, than he is down there talking to the Bitcoin plebs. But I think this is really interesting. We had a couple of other very interesting tweets I want to cover today. So Stack Hodler came out and said, Vanguard kicking out their CEO after 33 years of loyal service. Again, very, very interesting. We can see another $7 trillion in assets is about to fight for a tiny portion of Bitcoin that's actually available for sale. Now, this is a really important thing to kind of note. The first 35 days of Bitcoin ETF buyers and all of the records these Bitcoin ETFs have set, they've done it without Vanguard. Okay, again, all of the assets under management around the world, it's not an enormous pile of money. If I were to show you this chart again here, let's do some quick maths for the fun of the live stream. So we can see here Vanguard's got $6 trillion of assets under management. We know BlackRock has around 10. Okay, so that's 16 trillion. Let's go to Fidelity. They've got 2 trillion. So that takes us up to $18 trillion total. And then we've got American funds with 2, takes us up to 20. State Street, 21. And then you can add up the other 5 largest funds, and it takes you somewhere around $23 trillion. Okay, so Vanguard, out of that, $23 trillion, they hold 6.6. Okay, so that is actually 25% of all of the money held by the top 10 world's largest asset managers. So 25% of all of that money hasn't actually participated in Bitcoin's face-melting rally over the past 2 months. Okay, Bitcoin just had an historic month of February. I believe it actually closed the month of February with a gain of something like 43%. Okay, that's enormous, and to have that kind of rally, I think it was an $18,000 or $19,000 candle, is absolutely unprecedented. So again, this kind of really shows that what could happen next month. Again, nobody knows where the price of Bitcoin is going in the short term. We're just kind of trying to highlight that there's still money on the sidelines, okay? There is money on the sidelines. Lots of people are expecting a big pullback, but this is just some other things that we should also be considering. Something else we should also be considering is what is this going to do to other banks around the world? Before we get to talking about the other banks in the world, I'm going to make sure I'm sharing my screen because I wasn't a second ago, because I want to show you the MicroStrategy tracker, okay? Because right now, BlackRock has just essentially pulled the pants of Tim Buckley down in public, and that's probably a pretty bad analogy, and embarrassed him, okay? So BlackRock has embarrassed its biggest competitor, Tim Buckley, and MicroStrategy right now is doing the exact same thing on a corporate level, okay? Michael Saylor has been made fun of for the past 4 years as he's literally bought Bitcoin nearly every month, okay? He's bought the top, he's bought the bottom. He's bought Bitcoin at 65K, he bought it at 15K. He's sold, hundreds of millions of dollars of shares. He's taken out billions of dollars of debt, and he's just gone on a Bitcoin buying spree for the past 4 years. And we can see right now, the Bitcoin strategy is up 94%. And this was a DCA strategy, which also involves Saylor actually buying a lot of Bitcoin in close to the top. Okay, he bought a lot of Bitcoin in 2021 in the $50,000 and $60,000, and his strategy is still up by 90%. This is absolutely enormous, and this is embarrassing all of the other corporations who refuse to take action with their treasury and also buy some Bitcoin, okay? But again, this is not only an embarrassment that's happening on the corporate level, okay? There's lots of other areas that we're going to check out in a minute that are also, there's a little bit of Bitcoin competition going on. So we've got Austin in the chat. He's also a regular. I was watching and driving. Come on, Austin, you can't do that. We know that we're, the Bitcoin streams here are good fun, but geez, you got to get home. Make sure the seatbelt's on. It's good to see Austin's at home in front of the desktop. We got Rob in the chat as well. Larry Fink founded BlackRock. Fidelity CEO is an heir to the company. They had the status to take the risk on Bitcoin. Buckley was a regular CEO, not enough clout to do big things. Great comment, Rob. I think you're 100% on the money. And then we also have producer Pam in the chat. Now let's move on and let's take a look at who else is going to come under pressure to actually follow what MicroStrategy is doing, to actually follow what Larry Fink and BlackRock is doing. Again, they're taking brave bets, okay? And they also took these bets where the price of Bitcoin was down. But who else did something similar? Of course, we're talking about El Salvador, and we're talking about the remarkable transformation from murder capital to the safest country in Latin America, okay? I believe El Salvador is actually the safest country in the world right now, okay? But it's not only safety that has absolutely transformed in the country, okay? Obviously, this little article here that was depicting a recent interview Bukele did, I believe it was at the UN, was obviously talking about the safety. But there's lots of other things that have absolutely transformed in the country. Tourism up by over 100% since he made Bitcoin legal tender. The people in El Salvador, they're friendly, they're happy, they've been absolutely set free, okay? Because obviously now they feel safe to actually do things in public when there's no gang members around harassing them, trying to exploit them for their money, okay? I think Austin's in the chat as well. Producer is the better half, Pam. That is correct. And we also have Zach in the chat. Bitcoin. I mean, that's a great comment. As simple as that. Bitcoin is hope. Bitcoin is the answer. Bitcoin is becoming inevitable in the eyes of some of the, more respected billionaires around the world. I think this is the signal that we want to take away from today's video and the reason we're filming it, okay? BlackRock bent the knee to Bitcoin. Michael Saylor bent the knee to Bitcoin. And as he said today on stage in Madeira, he was once a Bitcoin critic. He was once a Bitcoin skeptic. But then he turned into a Bitcoin investor, and now he's turned into a Bitcoin maximalist. They were nearly his exact words. I'm paraphrasing there. I'd encourage you to check out his speech. It was really special. But again, all of these big names are bending the knee to Bitcoin. Who's going to be next? Which nation state is going to be forced to mine Bitcoin next? Which public company is going to be next to buy Bitcoin? Obviously, we got Apple, we got Microsoft. These companies have hundreds of billions of dollars of cash literally melting away, as Michael would say, on their balance sheet, okay? Who's going to be next? Let us know in the comments down below. And in a recent video, we kind of asked the question, are nation states going to be next? If you want to check out that video, I'm going to pop a link to that one up on screen just after the live stream ends. With all that said, thank you to everyone who joined the stream today. We got a lively one as usual. Hope you guys are having a great day. I will see you in the next couple of days.